It took 2 in the nose, then dropped into the atmosphere.
Who was first contact?
405th out of Diego Garcia.
Roger, Recon.
A mixture of games, mostly racing games like Midnight Club and Need for Speed.
Were any of them violent?
I would have to say the most violent game I remember playing at all was probably Super Smash Brothers, which I'm pretty sure everybody has played before.
What do you do in that game?
You basically have characters from the Nintendo, like all the Nintendo series, and you basically fight each other. That's about it.
I played Kirby. I played like GameCube games, Kirby's Air Ride, Super Smash Brothers.
Basically all Nintendo, non-pilot.
Mario, Crash Bandicoot, some racing games. Not pretty much child games. Nothing too extreme like Grand Theft Auto.
What games did you play when you were younger?
Let me think. Well, there was the ever popular Lego Star Wars. First Lego game. Love that one. Oh, and then there was Medal of Honor. That was what was that? We always had a mini game in that one. It was just we went around trying to find the one guy and killing him. It was great. Oh, and then there was Star Wars Battlefront. Yeah, it was a Star Wars game as well. If you guys were wondering. Yeah, I actually made a storyline for that one. Just a random side story that could have gone with the whole entire game.
Were any of these games particularly violent?
All of them. Star Wars Lego was probably one of the least violent games I played. But you, in that, you were taking lightsabers, chopping up Lego clone troopers, and sometimes me and my sister would fight each other, just for the lulz. Then there's also wow, Medal of Honor. Yeah, that's a war game. I would like to say that partly inspired Call of Duty, because some of the controls are very, very similar. And then there's Star Wars Battlefront, which is Call of Duty. I love that. That was one of the games. It's literally the same classes, same everything. The only difference is that you chose your class through an assortment, so all your things.
All of us here at ABC News have devoted this week to hearing from you, addressing your questions, searching for solutions as we mourn Newtown as a nation. Across more than a few of our message boards, we've seen more than a few people raise concern over violent video games and the cultural effect of having so many young men living virtual lives as first-person shooters. So tonight, ABC's Neil Karlinski takes a look.
Across the country this week, America's love affair with violence is under the microscope. Two of Hollywood's hottest new releases, both shoot-'em-ups, Jack Reacher and Django Unchained.
Last chance, fancy pants.
Very well.
Canceled premieres out of respect. Then came a nighttime TV ad for the video game Hitman Absolution, which led former top Obama advisor David Axelrod to tweet, Shouldn't we also quit marketing murder as a game? But while the adults were asking questions, America's kids went on their daily shooting spree. It is virtual violence, in this case playing one of the most popular, profitable, and most violent games, Call of Duty, a so-called first-person shooter, because the player takes on a killer's point of view. But is this just good fun, or is an entire generation being trained and desensitized to the act of shooting people?
Some people just go crazy, just yelling.
Thomas Pantig and Stephen Lloyd are typical of many in their generation. Good jobs by day, obsessed with Call of Duty when they get home.
You've seen a lot of that, right? So Vice President Joe Biden meeting with the makers of video game companies like the one you just saw in a push for answers to gun violence in this country, because we're trying to figure out all of the components that might lead to what we saw in Newtown and too many other places. But 20-year-old shooter Adam Lanza reportedly spent his days playing Call of Duty in the basement at his mother's house. There are new questions about whether the responsibility to police violent video games really lies with the parents. Michael Graham joins me now, radio talk show host.
Cops say he lived in a house filled with guns and in a head filled with games, video games, violent ones apparently, that perhaps could have led Adam Lanza to play. So are today's games training our children to kill? Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman is a former psychology professor from West Point and the author of the book, Killology. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you. The book is on killing.
On
My
killing.
website is on killing. Yeah, and the website is getbulletproofmind.com.
All right.
And I predicted this, guys. We knew this is coming. The kids who gave us Jonesboro in the middle school, Columbine in the high school, Virginia Tech in the colleges, this generation has given us a movie massacre in Aurora and a massacre in a first grade classroom in Sandy Hook. I mean, when are we going to connect the dots on all of this? This is a very sick world where the children play the sickest games and watch the sickest movies and commit the sickest acts we've ever seen in history.
Yeah.
We got to get tired of living in a world where every kid in America practices hunkered out and hiding when the kids come to kill them.
Yeah.
We got to get tired of living in a world
now,
where our cops practice. Yeah,
Colonel, we're looking at one of the video games, and this is one of the most realistic, and this is one of the things that you know, people will say, hey, look, it's just a video game. But unfortunately, when you start early enough, it desensitizes you, and eventually you're just pulling a trigger. It's no longer a game. But, you know, in some cases, and you have detailed it, a lot of gamers have gone on to do some really violent stuff.
Every one of our school killers. There's never been a juvenile mass murder in the schools in human history, and now we've got them everywhere. Across Germany, there were 2 massacres in Germany that beat Columbine all hollow. Finland's had 3. We saw one in Canada. In Belgium, a sicko got in a daycare center with a butcher knife and hacked 12 little babies in the crib. In China, they're coming in with knives into the kindergarten classes and hacking the kids. These crimes have never happened in human history. We feed the sickest movies and the sickest video games. Look, I'm our nation's #1 trainer of law enforcement. I spend more contact hours, more man hours, more time on the road training military and law enforcement than anybody else in America. We know how to use simulators to create the conditions to enable people to kill in combat. The operant conditioning, the classical conditioning, the social learning models, the desensitization, the programming that we put in simulators for cops and military is being done with these video games with these kids.
Right, Colonel.
We got to get mad. We got to get passionate about the schools that refuse to protect our kids. We got to protect our kids like we protect our money, and
Colonel,
that means
you
armed
made a great
security.
point. You made a great point. You've stated the case. It's obvious that attention needs to be paid to it, but how do we fix it?
Well, #1, the parents have got to be informed. And, you know, we have laws protecting the kids from guns and pornography and tobacco, alcohol, sex, automobile, firearms. On all these other areas, there are laws that help the parents. As a minimum, parents have to be informed. An M-rated video game is the same as an X-rated movie. M means NC-17. No child under 17 should play this game. If your child is playing M-rated games, time out.
Right.
And you're raising a killer. Not every kid will be a killer, but all the killers played these games.
Do you think violent video games have an effect on violent behavior?
That's on the person.
That's okay.
Maybe, but I don't really think so. If anything, I think it's like an outlet so that people.
Yeah, like the first night you hate somebody, you don't actually kill them in real life. You kill them.
Do you believe games cause violence? Like
no, not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. They actually reduce stress by a lot. Trust me.
Okay.
Do you believe video games are a prominent cause for violence?
No, because it's not like you're gonna go out in the street and steal some guy's random car or end up blowing up a planet or something.
So, do you believe video games are a prominent cause of violence?
No, I don't think so at all.
Why do you believe that?
Because I'm not just gonna go around, hijack a car, or kill somebody for no apparent reason. That's just kind of stupid to think about. Secondly, like, you play video games to do what you really can't do in reality. That's the main point. And there's no other hard evidence saying that video games is a cause for that crime or this. And really, it's kind of, a little stupid if you think about it with no hard evidence.
Do you believe video games cause violence?
In most cases, no, but the occasional person maybe takes reality really differently than most people maybe, but for the most part, not really.
Do you believe there are any exceptions?
People who may be mental instability, people who maybe weren't raised right, or people who just don't think about things before they do them.
Do you believe video games are a prominent cause of violence?
No. 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 Let's put it this way. If video games were a proper cause of violence, I have gone postal at this point. As simple as that.
Sub-Zero. Fight!
After the massacre, people were trying to figure out why it happened. There are a lot of theories about why, but the media ran with violent video games being the main factor. Both teams played the game Doom and have even stated on video that the shooting would be just like the game. People claim that the constant playing of this violent video game gave them the most ideas for the shooting, and some go to the point of saying that it wouldn't have happened if Doom never existed. From this came rumors that the troubled young men created levels based on the layout of their school, and trained for the shooting using these maps. So were video games really the cause for the massacre, and did they really train on custom maps? We'll get to that a little later.
Let's go now to Jack Thompson. He's the attorney. This goes back a bit. He represented the families of the girls shot at a different school. Remember the one at Paducah, Kentucky back in '97? Well, Mr. Thompson is a strong opponent of violent computer games. Jack Thompson, thank you, sir, for joining us.
Hey,
I asked the suite mate, and again, it will come up in a moment here, this interview we just did. He said there was the kids are like most kids at that campus at Virginia Tech. They are basically into basketball and other sports. There's not a strong subculture of violent video games. And they had the shooter, and that's what we can call him now, Cho Seung Wee, was one of these kids involved with that sort of game.
Well, they're inconsistent in their comments, Chris. They said that they didn't have much to do with them, but yet they know what he was doing.
Well, they didn't see any evidence of that.
Well, in fact, the Washington Post today, as you know, reported that his high school friends or his associates said he was immersed incredibly in the video game, the computer-based game Counter-Strike. And
tell me about Counter-Strike, because it's a strong theory of yours. What is it?
Well, it's not just a theory.
It's a theory that it had something to do with this case.
That's right. Until Monday, the worst school shooting in world history was in Erfurt, Germany, at the hands of Robert Steinhaus. And he was immersed in the game Counter-Strike. It's a very violent internet-based game in which you kill as many people as possible with all sorts of weapons. That event changed the chancellor's race in Germany. It changed the laws in Germany. And here we have now Mr. Joe, who was involved in this same game, according to his high school classmates. His own suite mates in Blacksburg said that he was on the computer all the time. He wasn't downloading music. He was playing this game. Chris,
that's not what we just heard. Wait, we just talked to one of his suite mates who said when he looked on the screen, he said he just saw him writing linear English, just writing apparently essays or plays or something.
When he looked on the screen. But the fact is, and here's what's significant, Cho was able to go room to room very calmly, efficiently, coolly killing people. In Red Lake, Minnesota, Jeffrey Weiss killed 10 people, and they found that he trained on a video game to do it. Chris, you can't do something this well the first time you do it. And the fact is, it wasn't the first time. He was in a hyper-reality situation, in virtual reality. Almost every school shooter the FBI and Secret Service has found is immersed in violent entertainment.
Okay.
Do you play any other games you consider violent?
I play Halo and Saints Row. And I guess if you really, if you consider Minecraft kind of violent because you're killing zombies and whatever, but,
Do you believe there are any exceptions?
No. Unless you're including Scrabble, because that could sometimes have a pretty violent ending when you lose personal experiences. But, not really.
Okay.